محمد وآل محمد. بار دیگر صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Thank you so much for attending tonight's program. Before we start, let's recite another Fatiha for the recent deceased. We all give our condolences to the brother and his family. It is not an easy loss. So inshallah, Allah gives him patience to overcome this loss. So let's take a moment to recite a Fatiha. You have anyone that can translate in Farsi? So, as I have been mentioning every night, and inshallah, like Hachani has reiterated earlier before myself, inshallah, let's try to wear the mask. We have some at the entrance, we have some at the table. So if you're 2 years or above, you're expected to wear a mask. And the reason is that, be it if you're vaccinated or if you're not vaccinated, with the new strains of this virus, we don't know if you would be good with that vaccination or not. So if we want to hold these majalis going forward, then we'll need your help to do that. So that will require us to, one of the aspects being wearing a mask. And when it comes to wearing a mask, is wearing it properly. So basically covering your whole face and your nose. Like so, right? So not like this, or not like this, but like this, right? Of course, if you have to drink or eat, yeah, you're more than welcome to do so. But we have to try to take additional measures to do what we can. That's if we want to keep on having these programs. Unless we can't, then like Hachani said, we have to unfortunately cancel it and only do it virtual through YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. So for those, as he mentioned, if you have children that, as you can see, our space is limited, right? So do you think, Hachani, do you think we should put the divider so the women can come? So it's more, yeah. So because as of right now, we see there's less men here. If you look at the women's side, they're all, there's barely any room. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna divide this portion, and some ladies, if you can come up into this section, that'll be great. So brothers that are sitting here, please move this side so we can make some room for the women. What I have said the previous nights as well is that, unfortunately, right now, even as I'm speaking, I see youth on the bench, on the seats, right? But you have elders and people that cannot sit on the ground. So if you see that you're sitting on the chair, then we have plenty of ground space. So one of the recommendations, aside from sitting further apart from one another, is that if you see an elder, then leave that space open for that elder, be it on the women's side or on the men's side. If you're a youth and you're sitting on a seat, sit on the ground so that you can make space for people that are older than you. Sisters.
We need many of the sisters, please, to come here. There will be a curtain here for you, so we can have more space for yourself. Some said you are sitting down too much close to each other. Some sisters, please come here, please. We need to separate some of the sisters. Please. Make space, because we're trying to give space because of the COVID, please. Thank you. You can come here. Yes, I know. I'm trying to, right now I'm trying to do it, inshallah. We're trying to control it. We're trying. Thank you. No, I understand. Assalamu alaikum. Did you get it? We don't have a. Usually some of the brothers. Dawood left. He was one. He just left. There's no nail or something. I'd like to make a few announcements.
Fundraiser.
Yeah. But there's most of the men are not here, so but we would like to make a few announcements, inshallah, about we need some donations for the center. We need some donations. There are 3 ways of donating if you want to. You can donate to Brother Yaqubi or myself, cash if you want to, or checks. And you can make donations through the Al-Mahdi site. If you go almahdi.net, at the end, there's a donate site. This is if you want to donate by credit card. Also, you can donate directly to the account of Al-Mahdi by going to Zelle, your own Zelle in your bank, and send to the email of Al-Mahdi. It's called almahdi.tempe@gmail.com. We will send an email about this explaining how you can send the money. almahdi.tempe@gmail.com. It goes straight to the account. So we ask all of you, inshallah, to help us in the donations for the center. Is it ready or not yet? You have another rope? Actually, it is okay because everybody will be sitting, inshallah. Yeah, it's too low. Can you? There's a rope or anything? Akhi, when they want to make latmiya, we can take it out, inshallah. Yeah, you'll open it, but you open it from the bottom. Now, when the program starts, children, we need all of you to be quiet, okay? You have to send the email, inshallah, because then almost the men outside.
So in respect to the children, there for ages 4 and above, there's going to be a class. Because we're so many, usually we will have it on the side room, but because of the numbers, we're going to be outside. So whoever wants to partake in the class of the youth 4 and above, please go outside. Then we ask kindly those parents that have younger children, please try to attend to them, be it father or mother, so that we can hear the speech, partake in it. Like Hussain said that last night he was tuning in and he could hear the children more so than he could hear the speaker. So let's do our part, especially as well as men and women. If we're conversing with one another, let's try not to do that inside. We can do that outside. I know we are limited on space, but that's the situation that we have. And then in respect to the class, the teachers have asked that if you're going to attend the class, then you don't keep on going in and out. Either you stay or you leave. So if you leave the class, then you have to stay here and listen to the speech. If you want to partake in the class, then you have to be there and partake in that class. Huh? 11. In respect to the day of Ashura, the program will begin at 11 a.m. Alhamdulillah, every night and even the day of Ashura is sponsored. So thank you so much for sponsoring and bringing food. And without further ado, inshallah, we'll begin the program with a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم القارعة ما القارعة وما أدراك ما القارعة يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث وتكون الجبال كالعهن المنفوش فأما من ثقلت موازينه فهو في عيشة راضية وأما من خفت موازينه فأمه هاوية وما أدراك ما هي نار حامية بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر كلا سوف تعلمون ثم كلا سوف تعلمون كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم ثم لترونها عين اليقين ثم لتسألن يومئذ عن النعيم صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Inshallah, we'll start right now with the program. I ask all of you, please, to say a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad for our speaker, our guest speaker, Dr. Takim, as-salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala.
رحم الله من قرأ سورة مباركة الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين رحمة للعالمين بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله صلى الله عليك يا ابن رسول الله روحي وجسمي وأرواح العالمين لك الفداء يا غريب يا مظلوم يا شهيد بأرض كربلاء أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذا بشر أحد بالأنثى ظل وجهه مسودا وهو كظيم صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I know that for many of you it's been a long day because of the unfortunate passing away of Sister Najiba. We had to go to the cemetery, some of you. Then there was the Fatiha Khan. So I'll try and make this majlis short in order to not tire you out too much. Plus, of course, tomorrow is a working day for many of you. It is just a coincidence that the topic I chose today is fitting with the sister who passed away. That is the role of women. Because as I was saying yesterday, very frequently Islam is looked down upon as a religion that suppresses and oppresses women, that doesn't give them rights and so on. You've heard it so many times. I do not need to go over it again. But I want to show you the power and the role that women have played, especially in Shia history. Things that we have never heard about. Because these roles or these issues are discussed only in the books of hadith and in the book of fiqh. Normally when we talk about women, especially in Shia Islam, we talk about the functions and the role of Hazrat Fatima, Hazrat Zainab, Hazrat Khadija, Ma'asuma Ikum, and others. But there's more than that. As I want to show that even the Quran itself has a very positive role to play, to say about women. For example, when it comes to Maryam, Ya Maryam, Allah tells Maryam through the angel Jibreel, Inna Allah astafaki wa tahharaki wa astafaki ala nisa'i al-alameen. Allah has chosen you and has purified you and has chosen you over all the women of the universe, al-alameen, and in her own time. Such was the status of Maryam, that which was because of her piety, her zuhd. That kullama dakhala alayha Zakaria, that every time Zakaria, the one who was the only person, was actually taking care of Zakaria, of Maryam, when she was in the temple, was Zakaria. Wajada indaha at-ta'am, he found food next to her. And he was surprised because the only person who would bring her food was Zakaria. Ya Maryama, ayna laki hadha? Where did this come from? Where did you get this from? And at that time, she responds, Hada min indallah. This is from Allah. Inna Allah yarzuqu man yasha bighayri hisab. Allah sustains whoever He wishes without even accounting. In other words, Allah is the one who does not choose based on gender, but chooses based on piety. And Maryam alayhi salam was so pious that she had a very special place that we do not even find the men have such a special place in the Quran as Maryam did. When we talk of women, many a time we just focus on what they can do, what they cannot do. But in fact, during the times of the Imams, Shia women played a very, very important role. And I would especially request the women to listen to this, something that they can take home to. From the hadith work, the books on hadith, we hear that women, for example, they've reported from every Imam, apart from the 11th Imam, from every Imam, even sometimes even from the 11th Imam, but from the Prophet also. From the 11th Imam's time, as we know, he spent most of his time in Samarra, so they could not have access to him. So contrary to what we may think, it was not only men who had access to the Imams, women did it too. And in the hadith work, what is interesting is that women play different roles. They do not only report hadith regarding women's issues. They report hadith regarding Imam Sahib al-Zaman. They report hadith regarding the Khaq Shifa, the special dust of Karbala. They report hadith on the Salat and so on, as I want to show you. As I said, they report on different topics. So for example, the aunt of a person by the name of Muhammad bin Ziyad reports hadith on the khake shifa. That is a special, the dust of Imam Hussain. As you know, there is a special merit, fadail, excellencies of the dust of Imam Hussain. This lady, who is the aunt of Muhammad bin Ziyad, reports from it. A lady called Hani. Hani was a disciple, somebody who would visit Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salam. You can see very clearly that the Imam, the women would report and visit the Imams. She reports hadith on the appearance of our 12th Imam Hazrat Hujjah alayhi salam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa alayhi. What is also important for us to know is that the women did not only report from the Imams, they heard from the Imams and then they reported to men. In other words, women were part of that chain. The hadith comes from the Imam to the lady, and then she reports it not only to other women, but also to other men too. You can see the importance of women in the transmission of the knowledge of the Imams. You may have heard of this, or the Amal of Dawood, which we do in Rajab, the middle of Rajab. Where did this Amal come from? A lady by the name of Habiba. She went to Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam, and her son was in difficulties with the Khilafah, the Khalifa of the time. The Imam dictated this Amal to Dawood, also called Habiba, who then reported it from the Imam. This is a dua. Every time that you have difficulties, you have bala, that you do this dua and the amal, which comes originally from the Imam himself. There was a lady, and a remarkable lady, by the way, by the name of Aslam. Aslam reported hadith. She met the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She met Imam Ali. She met Imam Hassan, Imam Hussain, up to Imam Zain al-Abidin. So she was pretty old. She went to the Prophet, says, Ya Rasulullah, how do I know who is a true successor? Give me something to show who your true successor is. The Prophet took a pebble, pebble, stone. And he said that whoever can rub on this pebble, on this stone, and make it into a powder, that is my true successor. When you want to know, go to somebody, take a stone from him, to him, and ask him to rub over it. And if it becomes a powder, that is a true sign that he is the Imam of the time. She did to Imam Ali, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussain, and Imam Zain al-Abidin. What was important was that this was a lady who was telling us about Imamat at a time when many people did not even know who the true Imam is. When people would reject the true Imam, not only did she recognize the true Imam of the time, but Aslam reported it. And our hadith tell us of this, what is called the famous pebble tradition. And what was not only important here is not only the fact that she reports who the identity of the Imam is, she also tells us about the miracles of the Imams, that the Imams could perform miracles and were able to show the identity of the true Imam. There's something else that this tradition tells us, that the Imams were not distant from their disciples. They were open to the disciples, both male and female too. Another important point that we should note about this particular hadith and this particular lady, Aslam, and other women also, is that they preserve the teachings of the Imams. Our Imams told our disciples, contrary to the other schools, that you write down our hadith. Write them down because you may forget it. In that way, you can preserve the legacy, the traditions, the hadith of the Imams. And Aslam and other women were those who reported the hadith and then reported it to other followers of the Imam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Take the example of Farwa. Farwa was the mother of the sixth Imam, the wife of the fifth Imam, the mother of the sixth Imam, a very pious woman, a pious lady who reported traditions from the fourth, fifth, and sixth Imams. Can you see the important role that these ladies played in our history, something that we hardly ever hear about? There was another lady by the name of Hamida. Hamida was the wife of Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq, the mother of Imam al-Qadhi. Again, she reports traditions from her husband. What is also interesting is that she reports one of the traditions of the Imam as-Sadiq on his deathbed when he was about to die. And the tradition reads like this, something that we should all listen to. That Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam said, "Lan tanalu shafa'atuna man istakhaffa bis-salat." That person who takes the prayers very lightly, does not take the prayers seriously, prays sometimes, doesn't pray at other time, prays late, that person will not get our shafa'at. In other words, if you want the shafa'at of the Imam, you have to take the prayers seriously. Something else that we should know, many a time, because of the difficulties of the time, because of the oppression on the Imams, they could not communicate with their disciples, with their companions openly. The Imams had also wives, they had sisters, they had aunts, they had daughters. So there were women also within the family of the Imams. The Imams would communicate their secrets. We believe that the Imams also had certain what we call books, certain weapons. And these weapons the Imams would give to the women, not to the men, sometimes to the women, so as to pass on to the future Imams. Why? Because women's quarters, the houses, the rooms of women were private. Men could not enter there. So that was a good opportunity and a good place where they could hide the secrets, the books, the weapons, the scrolls of the Imams. So we find various women within the household of the Imam playing important function. Another important function that we have to realize, and this would not have been possible without the women, by the way, which is the reporting of the birth of our 12th Imam. Actually, we only have one report from one lady, eyewitness account I'm talking about, eyewitness account of the actual birth of the Imam. Do you remember that lady? Hakima. Hakima is buried in Samarra. If you go to Samarra, inshallah, you'll go to Samarra. There are the Imam Hassan al-Askari, Imam al-Hadi are buried there. Also Narjis Khatun, who is the mother of the 12th Imam, and this Hakima. Who was Hakima? For those who are not aware, Hakima was a daughter of the 9th Imam, the sister of the 10th Imam, and the aunt of the 11th Imam. Same lady. She meets the 9th Imam, 10th Imam, and 11th Imam. And of course, the 12th Imam. On the eve of 15th of Sha'aban, Hakima tells us that my nephew, that Imam Hassan al-Askari, sent a message to me, saying, "Oh, aunt, come and break your fast at our home." They used to fast in Sha'aban those days. Come and break your fast because the Hujjah of Allah will be born today. The Hujjatullah. Hakima actually broke her fast and she spent the entire night, the eve of Nime Sha'aban, as we call it, 15th of Sha'aban, at the house of Imam Hassan al-Askari. And she says that I was surprised because there was no sign that Narjis Khatun, the mother of the 12th Imam, was going to give birth that particular night. And she says that the Imam Hassan al-Askari says, "Oh, aunt, do not doubt what I've told you. For surely the Hujjatullah, the Hujjah of Allah will be born tonight." And surely just before the morning, she reports the birth of Imam Sahibul Zaman. Not only was Imam Sahibul Zaman born, she reports that when the child was born, the child went into sajda and did the shahada and recounted the names of all the Imams before him. This was a miracle that was reported by Hakima Khatun. Sallu ala Muhammad wa alayhi. Another lady, Ahmad, who was the wife of the seventh Imam. You'll recall the Imam, seventh Imam Al-Qadim alayhi salam, died in prison in Baghdad. But Ahmad was left with the secrets and with the trusts of the seventh Imam. If you recall through history, there was a lot of confusion after Imam Al-Qadim alayhi salam passed away, because there was a group which believed that he was the Mahdi. They were called the Waqifis. Waqifis were those who stopped at the seventh Imam. And therefore there was confusion. It took a lot of effort on the part of Imam al-Radha to convince the followers that no, that is the Imam, was a true Imam after Imam al-Qadim. The Waqifis did it in order to get the khums, to keep the khums money. The khums politics was there even during the times of the Imams. It's nothing new. And therefore she reports that Imam al-Radha alayhi salam sent a message to Ahmad that give me and send me those amanat which my father left with you, because I am the true Imam after him. And I said, they also confided the secrets of the Imams. And interestingly, some of these ladies, the daughters of the Imams, were actual scholars. They were not just keeping the secrets of the Imams, not just reporting traditions of the Imam. They were learning and writing books from the Imams, women I'm talking about. One in particular strikes me, a lady called Olia. Olia was the daughter of the fourth Imam. One of our great scholars in Rijal who reports the books called Najashi. Ahmad bin Ali Najashi reports that Olia wrote a book which she learned from Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam. And again, there were those scholars who were trained by their fathers and transmitted their hadith of their father to later generations, so that the hadith of the Imams would always be kept intact. Let me give you a personal story of how this hadith from the Imams has been transmitted across generation. When I went to Qom, that was in the 1980s, to study, you know, when you go, I went with the Western mentality that whatever you get, you have to pay for. Even knowledge, you pay for your teacher. So I was being taught by some teachers, and I went to one of them and I offered him some money. That is what we call hadiyah. He said, "What is this?" I said, "This is my appreciation to you," I said. He said, "This is your Western style. Your zakat," they were telling me, "is that whatever we teach you, you should transmit it to others. This is how the knowledge coming from the Prophet to the Imams, to the scholars, and later generations was passed successfully through. That if you want to repay me, the only and best way you repay me is that you transmit that knowledge, whatever we have taught you, to others." This is, as I say, the way that knowledge has been preserved. So, for example, Amina Khatun was the daughter of Allama Majlisi, the first Majlisi. There were two Majlisis, Muhammad Bakr and the first Majlisi. Amina was the daughter, and she was so learned from her father that her husband would come and learn from her. There were no madrasas in those days for ladies the way that we think now of Jamiat al-Zahra and Qum. So the fathers would arrange for teachers to come home to teach these women. And they in turn would teach other men, they would teach other women. So it is wrong for us to think it is only men who occupy and who are monopolizing knowledge. Dhahabi, for example, he includes a list of 93 women, scholars, all of them. And many of them had got ijaza. Now, ijaza, normally when we hear the word ijaza, the first thing that comes in our mind is khumsa. There are different kinds of ijaza. There is ijaza to do ijtihad, ijaza to transmit traditions, also ijaza to hadith. And some of these ladies actually got the ijazah to transmit hadith. It just goes to show that when it comes to knowledge, gender is not an obstacle. And these ladies also taught hadith and taught knowledge in the madrasas too. I give you one example. Fatima, a lady called Fatima of Nishapur. She inherited money from her father. She had brothers too. I do not know how many of our ladies would do this. She told her brothers, I don't want that money. Instead, I want your books. So I give you the money, you give me the books as part of the inheritance. And of course, the brothers did it because they wanted the money. So it goes to show how the piety and the knowledge of these ladies were passed on. But it was not only in the field of knowledge. And you will recall at the time of election last year, there was a question of would Hillary win the election? Could she stand as the president at the time after Obama left? Well, so far, the United States of America has not had one female president, correct? We've had a female prime minister in Canada. We have prime ministers, we don't have presidents, but we have not had for a long period, but certainly not in America. You might be surprised to know that in Islam, there have been no less than 40, arba'in, chihelta, female heads of state. 40 heads of state, female heads of state. 15 of these female head of state have been sultanas. We don't have only sultans. We also have sultanas. And many of them, these sultanas, had their names minted on the coins. In the olden days, they would mint the name of the head of state, of the sultan, on the coins. We hear of the names of these female heads of states on the coins themselves. Their names were pronounced in the khutbah of Jummah. In the olden days, they would pronounce the name of the caliph on the khutbah. Well, their names, they were women, but their names were pronounced. So for example, and this is maybe surprising for many of you, in the year 1236, 13th century, 1236 was the first sultana in Islam, Sultana Radhiya. You know where she became a sultan? Viduri Kuja? The Hind, in New Delhi. Amazing to think, huh? In New Delhi, we've had the first sultana, a woman head of state. And 14 years later, in the year 1250, we have a sultana in Cairo, in Egypt, Shajaratul Dur. And we've had so many other sultanas in Indonesia alone, in Aceh. We had 7 sultanas. And we've had this so many times. What I'm trying to prove to you is how powerful and empowered women have been in our own history. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. I could go on and on in the arts, for example, in even mysticism, Sufism. One of the foremost mystic was a woman, Rabia al-Adawiyya. Rabia al-Adawiyya was so pious, was so zuhd, had so much zuhd. She never got married. Although we encourage people to get married, she did not marry because she had no room for anybody else but Allah in her heart. This was Rabia al-Adawiyya. Many miracles are reported from her. Many men wanted to marry her, but she did not agree to any of them. We had also in the military, women who were dressed as men in order to fight. The idea that women cannot be judges, for example, is now being disputed. So many scholars, ulama, even Maraji, like Sanai, Fadlallah, and so many others have allowed women to be judged because there's nothing in the hadith which says a woman cannot be a judge, by the way. In today's world, we found that the founder of the women's madrasa in Isfahan, we're not only talking of the past, we're talking of the recent future, was a lady, the founder of the madrasa in Isfahan was a lady by the name of Nusrat Amin. Nusrat Amin was a remarkable lady. She was a mujtahida, one who not only learned from the famous Ayatollahs. She actually taught some of the Ayatollahs herself. This was in Iran. She died in 1984. She got ijtihad or ijazah of ijtihad from prominent Ayatollahs, and she gave that ijtihad to many Ayatollahs, including Ayatollah Mar'ashi, Ayatollah Borujardi, and according to Ayatollah Sanai, she was one of the best Shia scholars of the 20th century, this Nusrat Amin. Indeed, this lady, Nusrat Amin, wrote a 15-volume commentary on the Quran. It is available now. 15-volume commentary by Nusrat Amin, which is titled Makhzan al-Irfan fi Darul or fi Ulum al-Quran. In other words, this is the legacy of this lady, 15-volume of commentary on the Quran. She also opened a school for high school for girls in 1965. She opened a hawza for girls in Isfahan. Another lady, and I know my time is running short, but just one or two names, so you can see that the impact of women is even there today, even more than anywhere else. Zohre Sifati, you can Google them. She was a leading religious scholar. Again, she was one key figure who helped establish Jamiatul Zahra today. No less than 12,000 women, girls, are studying or have studied in Jamiatul Zahra. This Zohre Safati, again, she got riwayat and ijtihad from famous Ayatollah, including Ayatollah Safi Gulpegani and Ayatollah Tabrizi. Today, the number of women playing active role in different fields in Iran has increased. So nobody should think that women are disempowered or disadvantaged in Islam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali. It is the eve of Tasu'a, the eve of the night of Muharram. It's been 2 days now almost that there's no water in the tents. Very little that was remaining. The kids are crying. It is hot. Imam Hussain tried his very best not to fight. Indeed, he would call Umar ibn Saad, and sometimes they would talk till the middle of the night. Would talk to the middle of the night, and Imam Hussain said very clearly that I came because I was invited. It was not my choice that I came just to create trouble. If you do not want me, leave me, I'll go alone. I'll go back to Medina. I'll even go to Hind. But do not kill me or do not ask me to give bay'ah to Yazid. Umar ibn Saad, at that time at least, he did not want to kill Imam Hussain. As I said, they were discussing these issues in the middle of the night. Finally, Umar ibn Saad wrote to Ibn Ziyad in Kufa, saying that I think we can avoid conflict. We do not have to kill Hussein. He wants peace. He's telling us that he'll leave us and we should leave him alone. He will not create trouble for us. When Umar ibn Saad wrote this letter, Ibn Ziyad read it, he called Shimr. Shimr was supposed to be fighting with Imam Ali al-Siffin. Some of these people changed sides so easily because of money. Umar ibn Saad was supposed to be so pious, it is said. Some reports say that his shoes did not touch the ground. His shoes did not touch the ground because he did not want to kill the insects and the ants on the ground. It is amazing that he did not want to kill the insects and the ants on the ground, yet he was prepared to kill the grandson of the Prophet. See how misplaced their priorities were. Hazrat Hussain, when Ibn Ziyad got this letter, showed it to Shimr, and Shimr said, do not let Hussain go. Because if you let him go, you will never ever get the bay'ah. Get the bay'ah for him, from him, or ask him or kill him. Shimr arrived in Karbala on the 9th of Muharram. We'll talk more about the 9th of Muharram tomorrow. But as I said, tonight is a night of a special youth. A youth who looked like the Prophet, who spoke like the Prophet, who behaved like the Prophet. This youth was what we may call the apple of the eye of Hussain. Whenever Hussain wanted to remember his grandfather, he would look at Ali Akbar. Tabari tells us that as Ali Akbar and Hussain were on the horse, at one point Imam Hussain dozed off on his horse. Then he woke up and he said, Inna lillahi 3 times. Allahu Akbar 3 times. When Ali Akbar asked him, Ya Abati, lima starja'ta? Why did you say Inna lillahi 3 times? Imam Hussain said that I dozed off a little bit and I saw a person on the horse saying, Al-qawmu yasiru wal-manaya tasiru bihim. And people are moving and fate is moving with them. Oh, Ali Akbar, we are going towards that. What does Ali Akbar do? He doesn't say, let's fight horror. He says, Ya Abati, alasna ala al-haq. Are we not on the true path? And Imam Hussain says, Wallahi nahnu ala al-haq. I swear you're on the true path. Ali Akbar says, Idhan la nubali. Then we do not care. As long as we're on the true path, we'll taste death. We'll meet up with death. On the day of Ashur, one by one, the companions are giving their life. One of the persons to come to Hussain was his own son, Ali Akbar. Only those who are fathers and mothers will know what Hussain and Layla were going through at that time. Because a young son, hardly in his 20s, coming to the father, asking to die. Can you imagine what Hussain was going through? Hussain turns to Ali Akbar and says, oh my son, if only you were a father, you would know what I am going through now. If only you were a father. Because only fathers and mothers know what it means to lose a child. Have you talked to your mother? Have you spoken to your Aunt Zainab, who brought you up when you were a little boy? Ali Akbar goes to his mother. He goes to Zainab. Oh, my aunt, I want to go and die now. I've come to say goodbye. Can you imagine what Zainab says? The riwayat says, oh, beta Ali, oh, my son Ali, did I bring you up so that one day you should come to me and ask me to die? I was hoping to see you get married, for you to grow up, and today you are asking me to die. Only Allah knows how the ladies allowed Ali Akbar to come to Hussain. He comes again, says, oh, my father, I've got the permission now. Hussain, can you imagine on the plains of Karbala, he embraces and hugs his son, gives him his own horse. The Lahiq was the horse of Hussain, given to Ali Akbar, gives him his sword, helps him mount the horse. Oh, Ali Akbar, Khuda Hafiz, you may go now. As Ali Akbar is going towards the battlefield, Hussain turns towards the sky and he says, oh my Lord, you bear witness that today that son of mine is going to the battlefield, who in his looks, in his behavior, in his voice resemble your prophet most. Whenever I wanted to remember your prophet, I would look at Ali Akbar. That is why on the day of Ashur, in the morning, when it's time for Salat, why does Hussain ask Ali Akbar to give the adhan? Why not anybody else? Because Ali Akbar's voice resembled the voice of the Prophet. Maybe Hussain thought that if these people hear the voice of the Prophet, they would not fight us. But here is Hussain. As Ali Akbar is going to the battlefield, Hussain is walking behind him. Ali Akbar turns back and he says, oh, my father, you have allowed me to go. Why do you keep walking behind me? Hussain says, oh, Ali Akbar, it is not only you who's going to the battlefield. A part of me is also going with you. A part of me is going with you. Ali Akbar comes to the battlefield. Riwayat says that Layla called the ladies. She said, oh ladies, I'm going to ask a dua. You say Ameen. She kept the musalla. She turns towards her Lord and she says, oh my Lord, Oh, the one who returned Yusuf to Yaqub, return my Ali to me at least once more. And yes, Ali Akbar came back. He said, oh, my father, if only I had a little bit of water. The thirst is killing me. Hussain doesn't have water. My mind tells me that Ali Akbar came for his final ziyaratul wida with his father. Hussain puts his tongue in the tongue of Ali Akbar. Ali Akbar says, your tongue is more dry than my tongue. Khuda Hafiz, oh my father, I will not come back again. Hussain is looking at the battlefield. Ali Akbar is surrounded now. He's surrounded by the enemies. They throw everything at him. Finally, Ali Akbar says, Assalamu alayka ya abata. Adrikni ya abata. Hussain. Suddenly he cannot even see now. There is darkness in his eyes. Wa akbaraha. Wa Ali. Ya Ali, he says. Which Ali is Hussain crying out to? The Ali in Karbala or the Ali in Najaf? Hussain finally comes to the body of his son. May Allah not show this particular scene to anybody, but Hussain is coming to the body of his son. He sees that the son Ali Akbar has got his hand on his chest. Oh, my son, why are you holding your chest? Ali Akbar opens his eyes and he says, oh, my father, I have just seen my grandfather in my dream. I've just seen my grandfather, and he says, oh, Ali Akbar, we are waiting for you. I'm holding my chest because at the end of it, there is the end of a spear in it. It is killing me. As Hussain tries to pull out the chest, the spear, Ali Akbar passes away. The final scene, may Allah not show this to anybody. An old father is carrying the body of a young son. Zainab comes out from his tent and she says, oh, my brother, this has never been heard, that the father carries the body of a son. سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون مات الحسين.
Inshallah, we'll recite Ziyarat al-Shura. There's no one to recite no. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا خيرة الله وابن خيرته. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوسيم. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله عبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام، وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات. فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت، ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وعزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها. ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم، ولعن الله الممحدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برعت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشياعهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان، ولعن الله بني أمية قاتبا، ولعن الله ابن مرجانا، ولعن الله عمر بن سعد، ولعن الله شمرا. ولعن الله أمة أسرجت والجمت وتنقبت لقتالك. بأبي أنت وأمي لقد عظم مصابي بك، فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب طارق مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن قاتلك ونسب لك الحرب. وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس الظلم والجور عليكم وأبرأ إلى الله وإلى رسوله ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانا وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشيائكم برعت إلى الله وإليكم منهم وتقربوا إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب وبالبراءة من أشياعهم وأتباعهم إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة واسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله وأن يرزقني طلب طاري مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم واسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبته مصيبة ما عظمها وعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله من صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن واكلة الأكباد اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله بكل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله اللهم لعن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية عليهم منك اللعنة وبدل العابدين وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب العليم اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقف هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك اللهم لعن الإصابة التي جاحدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله اللهم لعنهم جميعا السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليك مني سلام الله عبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله الآخر الأحد مني لزيارتكم السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني وابدع به أولا ثم اللعن الثانية والثالثة والرابع اللهم لعن يزيد خامسا ولعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجان وعمر بن سعد والشمرا وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة سجود اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي اللهم ارزقنا شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا محجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام اللهم صل على محمد
ضمن قبولی اطاعت عبادات از دوستان و تخواهش شده که صفی سینه‌زنی رو منظم بسازن به خاطر که سینه‌زنی به شکل درستی انجام شود. شرط قبولی اطاعت عبادات خوشنودی اموات جمع حاضر، جهت خوشنودی شهدای افغانستان، شهدای کربلا، علل خصوص جهت خوشنودی سرور و سالار شهیدان کربلا ابا عبدالله حسین بر محمد و اهل بیت محمد بلند صلوات. قیامت به حسین غوغا ندارد، شفاعت به حسین معنی ندارد. حسینی باش که در محشر نگویند چرا پرونده زال ندارد. خوشنودی آقا امام زمان جهدی برای داشتن حاجات حاجتمندان بر محمد و اهل بیت محمد بلند صلوات. ای حسین جانم نور چشمانم آرام جانم آرام جانم ای حسین جانم نور چشمانم آرام جانم آرام جانم ای حسین جانم جانم آرام جانم ای حسین جانم می جانم آرام جانم لاله خونین بدنی مولا بدنی مولا تو نور چشمان منی مولا چشمان منی مولا قامتم از هجر حسین خمید موی من از هجران شده سفید ای حسین جانم نور چشمانم آرام جانم آرام جانم ای حسین جانم نور چشمانم آرام جانم آرام جانم ای حسین جانم نور چشمانم آرام جانم آرام جانم آمدم از شام بلا سویت مرغ دلم مانده سر کویت نمانده بهر من راه چاره نمانده بهر من راه چاره در آسمانی مانده ستاره نه چشمی مانده نه نور چشمی نه گوشی واره نه گوشی واره ای حسین جانم نور چشمانم آرام جانم آرام جانم ای حسین جانم نور چشمانم آرام جانم آرام جانم آرام جانم تو روح زینب جان رو بابی لالایی میگم تا تو بی خوابی لالایی خونین بدنی مولا تو نور چشمان منی مولا قامتم از هجر حسین خمید موی من از هجرانش سفید ای حسین جانم نور چشمانم آرام جانم آرام جانم ای حسین جانم نور چشمانم آرام جانم آرام جانم لاله خونین بدنی مولا تو نور چشمان منی مولا قامتم از هجر حسین خمید موی من از هجرانش سفید چیزو بنگر تو جان خواهرم چی گویم من
از غمی دخترم چی گویم من از غمی دخترم ای حسین جانم نور چشمانم آرام جانم آرام جانم ای حسین جانم نور چشمانم آرام جانم آرام جانم ای حسین جانم نور چشمانم آرام جانم آرامی جانم آمدم از شام بلا سویت مرغ دلم در سر کویت نمانده بهر من راه چاره نمانده بهر من راه چاره در آسمانی مانده ستاره نه نور چشمی نه نور چشمی نه چشمی مانده نه نور چشمی نه گوشی مانده نه گوشی واره ای حسین جانم نور چشمانم آرام جانم آرام جانم ای حسین جانم نور چشمانم آرام جانم آرام جانم تو روح زینب جان رو بابی دانایی میگم تا تو بی خوابی لالای خونین بدنی مولا تو نور چشمان منی مولا نمانده بهر من راه چاره در آسمانی مانده ستاره نه چشمی مانده نه نور چشمی نه گوشی مانده نه گوشی واره ای حسین جانم نور چشمانم آرام جانم آرام جانم ای حسین جانم نور چشمانم آرام جانم آرام جانم ای حسین جانم نور چشمانم آرام جانم آرام جانم لالای خونین بدنی مولا لالای خونین بدنی مولا تو نور چشمان منی مولا قامتم از هجر حسین خمید موی من از هجرانش سفید نه چشمی مانده نه نور چشمی نه گوشی مانده نه گوشی واره نه گوشی مانده نه گوشی واره ای حسین جانم نور چشمانم آرام جانم آرام جانم ای حسین جانم نور چشمانم آرام جانم آرام جانم آمدم از شام بلا سویت مرغ دلم در سر کویت نمانده بهر من راه چاره نمانده بهر من راه چاره در آسمانی مانده ستاره خیز و بینگر تو جان خواهرم چی گویم من از غم دخترم ای حسین جانم نور چشمانم آرام جانم آرام جانم ای حسین جانم نور چشمانم آرام جانم آرام جانم تو روح زینب جان آبی لالای خونین بدنی مولا تو نور چشمان منی مولا نه چشمی مانده نه نوری چشمی نه گوشی مانده نه گوشی واره نه گوشی مانده نه گوشی واره ای حسین جانم نور چشمانم آرام جانم آرام جانم ای حسین جانم نور چشمانم آرام جانم آرام جانم
جهد آموزش اموات خبری اطاعتی واردات حل مشکلات همه شما عزیزان بر محمد و اهل بیت محمد بلند صلوات.
صلوات دوم بلندتر. من حسین عطشانم لا اله الا الله. من حسین عطشانم لا اله الا الله. من حسین الله. آب را بر روی من ای ستمگران بسته. آب را بر روی من ای ستمگران بسته. قلب آل اسمت را از ره جفا خسته. کودکان زهرا را دل ز کینه بشکسته. دل شکست طفلان است لا اله الا الله. من حسین عطشانم لا اله الا الله. من حسین این مبارزین امروز غرق خون به میدانند. این مبارزین امروز غرق خون به میدانند. روح عدل و آزادی سرور شهیدان است. مرشد جوان مردان نور عدل و ایمان است. سخت زین عزا جانم لا اله الا الله. من حسین عطشانم لا اله الا الله. من حسین از ره ستم کشته جمله آورانم را. از ره ستم کشته جمله آورانم را. میر لشکرم عباس قوت و توانم را. قاسم و علی اکبر نور دیدگانم را. غرق خون جوانانم لا اله الا الله. من حسین عطشانم لا اله الا الله. من حسین این مبارزین امروز غرق خون به میدانند. این مبارزین امروز غرق خون به میدانند. روح عدل و آزادی نور علم و ایمان مرشد جوان مردان سرور شهیدان است. سخت زین ازا جانم لا اله الا الله. من حسین عطشانم لا اله الا الله. من حسین آب را بر روی من ای ستمگران بسته. آب را بر روی من ای ستمگران بسته. قلب آل اسمت را از ره جفا خسته. کودکان زهرا را دل ز کینه بشکسته. دل شکست طفلان است لا اله الا الله. من حسین عطشانم لا اله الا الله. من حسین این مبارزین امروز غرق خون و میدانند. این مبارزین امروز غرق خون و میدانند. روح عدل و آزادی نور علم و ایمان است. مرشد جوان مردان سرور شهیدان است. سوخ زین ازا جانم لا اله الا الله. من حسین عطشانم لا اله الا الله. من حسین عطشانم لا اله الا الله. صلوات.
بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات. باز این چه شورش است که در خلق عالم است. باز این چه نوحه و چه عذاب و چه ماتم است. باز این چه رستخیز عظیم است که از زمین به نفخ صور خواست تا عرش اعظم است. گویا طلوع می کند از مغرب آفتاب. کاشف در تمام ذرات عالم است. گر خوانمش قیامت دنیا بعید نیست. این رستخیز عام که نامش محرم است. ذکر نوحه من گدایم گدای حسینم، عاشق کربلای حسینم. من گدایم گدای حسینم، عاشق کربلای حسینم من گدایم گدای حسینم عاشقی عاشق کربلای حسینم عشق او مایه سوز و سازم روی و قبلگاه نمازم روی و قبلگاه نمازم عشق او مایه سوز و سازم روی و قبلگاه نمازم روی و قبلگاه نمازم من گدایم گدای حسینم عاشق کربلای حسینم عاشق کربلای حسینم از غلامی او سرفرازم از غلامی او سرفرازم نوکری بر سرای حسینم از غلامی او سرفرازم نوکری بر سرای حسینم نوکری بر سرای حسینم من گدایم گدای حسینم عاشق کربلای حسینم عاشق کربلای حسینم دل ز مهری روش بر نگیرم دل ز مهری روش بر نگیرم هر غمش را به جان میپذیرم دل ز مهری روش بر نگیرم هر غمش را به جان میپذیرم هر غمش را به جان میپذیرم من گدایم گدای حسینم عاشق کربلای حسینم عاشق کربلای حسینم این مرامم بود تا بمیرم این مرامم بود تا بمیرم زنده چون با ولای حسینم این مرامم بود تا بمیرم زنده چون با ولای حسینم زنده چون با ولای حسینم من گدایم گدای حسینم عاشق کربلای حسینم عاشق کربلای حسینم گرچه از حد فزون است گناهم گرچه از حد فزون است گناهم گور زهرا بود عذر خواهم گرچه از حد فزون است گناهم گور زهرا بود عذر خواهم گور زهرا بود عذر خواهم من گدایم گدای حسینم عاشق کربلای حسینم عاشق کربلای حسینم روز محشر مگو به پناهم روز محشر مگو به پناهم در پناه لوای حسینم در پناه لوای حسینم من گدایم گدای حسینم عاشق کربلای حسینم عاشق کربلای حسینم گریم از ماتمی اکبری او گریم از ماتمی اصغری او گریم از ماتمی اصغری او من فدای علی اکبری او من فدای علی اصغری من فدای علی اصغری من گدایم گدای نم این مرامم بود تا بمیرم زنده چون با ولای حسینم زنده چون با ولای حسینم این مرامم بود تا بمیرم زنده چون با ولای حسینم زنده چون با ولای حسینم من گدایم گدای حسینم عاشق کربلای حسینم عاشق کربلای حسینم گریم از ماتمی اکبری او گریم از ماتمی اکبری او بر لبی تشنهی اصغری او بر تنی به سر و بر سری او خون جگر در عزای حسینم خون جگر در عزای حسینم من گدایم گدای حسینم اینم از غلامی بو سرفرازم نوکری بر سرای حسینم نوکری بر سرای حسینم این مرامم بود تا بمیرم زنده چون با ولای حسینم زنده چون با ولای حسینم من گدایم گدای حسینم عاشق کربلای حسینم عاشق کربلای حسینم صلوات نوحی تیز آیم به قتلگاه که پیدا کنم تو را امشب فدای هجرتی فردا کنم تو را آیم به قتلگاه که پیدا کنم تو را آیم به قتلگاه که پیدا کنم تو را امشب ودای هجرت فردا کنم تو را آیم به قتلگاه که پیدا کنم تو را امشب ودای هجرت فردا کنم تو را جویم تو را قدم به قدم بین کشتگان جویم تو را قدم به قدم بین کشتگان با شوق و استراب تمنا کنم تو را با شوق و استراب تمنا کنم تو را در حیرتم کی از چه بجویم نشان تو در حیرتم کی از چه بجویم نشان تو نه سر نه پیرهن ز چه پیدا کنم تو را نه سر نه پیرهن ز چه پیدا کنم تو را آیم به قتلگاه که پیدا کنم تو را آیم به قتلگاه که پیدا کنم تو را آیم به قتلگاه که پیدا کنم تو را برگیرم از خاک و ببوسم گلوی تو برگیرم ز خاک و ببوسم گلوی تو خود نوح مادرانه چون زهرا کنم تو را خود نوح مادرانه چون زهرا کنم تو را آیم به قتلگاه که پیدا کنم تو را آیم به قتلگاه که پیدا کنم تو را آیم آیم به قتلگاه که پیدا کنم تو را امشب ودای هجرت فردا کنم تو را امشب ودای هجرت فردا کنم تو را جویم تو را قدم به قدم بین کشتگان با شوق و اضطراب تمنا کنم تو را در حیرتم کی از چی بجویم نشان تو در حیرتم کی از چی بجویم نشان تو نه سر نه پیرهن ز چی پیدا کنم تو را آیم به قتلگاه که پیدا کنم تو را آیم به قتلگاه که پیدا کنم تو را آیم به قتلگاه که پیدا کنم تو را سلامات از قاری محترم نوید خواهش مندم که آمده دعای فرج در ختم مجلس اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى توعا وتمتعوا فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات تابع بيننا وبينهم بالخيرات إنك مجيب الدعوات إنك قاضي الحاجات پروردگار این قلیل توسل را به کرمت و به حق آقا ابا عبدالله از همه اهل مجلس قبول بفرما پروردگار و مریضان ما را شفای عاجل عطا و کرامت بفرما گناهان ما را ببخش اموات ما را ببخش والدین ما را ببخش پروردگار این نونهالان ما را زیر سایه اسلام و قرآن و اهل و بیت به بار بیار پروردگار نونهالان ما را محبین اهل و بیت قرار بده پروردگار ظهور آقا ولی عصر را معجل و نزدیک بفرما پروردگار خائنین کشور ما را که در هر جای دنیا هستند رسوایشان بگردان پروردگار خواهر گرامی ما که مجلس امشب مجلس ختم قرآن و فاتحه خوانی به یاد بودش برگزار گردیده بود امسال در جمع مانست خدایا ببخش و بیامرز به نبی و آل الفاتحه مع الاخلاص و الصلوات
صلی علی محمد و آل محمد اللهم صل علی محمد انشالله عزاداریاتون قبول باشه. انشالله your azadaris be accepted. For those who listened and wore masks, thank you so much. Let's try to continue this. For the nights to come, we're going to be busy. So, and we're running low on masks. We have so many masks. So if you got a mask and you threw it away or you dropped it, we're going to get more masks, but let's try to keep them so that we don't. And if even outside, there's some trash on the floor. So it's not proper etiquette. We're Muslims, right? So if we know where the trash goes, especially the younger kids, yeah, if we see elders doing that, then we should tell them to do otherwise, right? Or if we're doing it, we should do otherwise as well. So I don't want to take any more of your time. In terms of Ashura program, we'll begin at 11 o'clock. And then because we're so busy, food's going to be served outside. So please take some food on the way to go. Thank you so much. No.